Hello everyone, and welcome to a very interesting game from round 11 of the 2013 Candidates Tournament. Now, I don't know how many of you remember from my Tal vs Botvinnik series. There was this one game where Tal mentions how it's very different to play a match and it's very different to play a tournament. When you play a match, you face the same opponent over and over and over and over, and when you play a tournament, you have, okay, I'm probably gonna win against these two, I'm gonna draw against these two, and you know, it's okay to lose maybe against these two, and you know, you sort things out in your head. And I think something like this is what happened in this game, but you'll see the game and you will be able to decide for yourselves. It's a very interesting game, and it's a really sharp position, which you can pretty much always expect when Levon Aronian is playing in a very strong tournament such as the Candidates. And before we actually see the game, we do have some photos. Here we have a nice close-up of Peter Svidler writing down some information before the game starts. Another nice close-up of Levon Aronian. Not really a close-up, more of a, well, he just arrived at the board, didn't even sit down just yet. Then we have, well, this is a very nice close-up, again, of Levon Aronian. Pretty much every photo of Levon Aronian when he's just, you know, thinking before the game starts is pretty much the same, but always enjoyable. And here, a very funny photo. Here you can see a photo of the audience who actually came there to watch this event live, but they're not really watching it live. They are there, but they have like very small tablets and earphones. So even though they are there live, you know, they have like smaller screens than I have. I have a 24-inch screen, and when I watch chess tournament, you know, I'm really enjoying it. I have actually two screens because I need them for work. So on one screen I have the commentators, on the other screen I have the board. But you know, the people who actually came there to watch it live, they're actually having, I don't know, less of it than you're getting at home, but at least they can watch the players, you know, in real time. So it's you know, you did come to watch it live, but you're not really watching it live. So it's very funny that way. And let's just have a quick glimpse. This is the tournament standings after round 10. So as you can see, Levon Aronian is in second place with 6.5 points. He's up against Peter Svidler with 4.5 points. So a win for Svidler would definitely mean a lot for the standings, and a win for Aronian could also, you know, wrap up that first place for him, even though there are a couple of more rounds till the end of the tournament, but every point counts now. So let's see the game. Svidler is white and he opens with d4. We have knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to c3, and bishop to b4. We have the Nimzo-Indian defense. a3, and bishop captures on c3. We have pawn captures on c3, and now c5. If you remember also, since we already mentioned the Tal Botvinnik series, Tal did try knight to e4. He prepared this, and after queen c2, then f5 was the idea. Tal and Koblenz prepared from the Mark Taimonov book. But, you know, theory advanced a long way since then, and now c5, the Semish variation by Levon Aronian. We have e3, queen to a5, attacking the c3 pawn, bishop to d2 defending, and only now knight to e4, as black already gave up the bishop pair. Now he wants to deprive white of the bishop pair. Bishop to d3, knight captures, queen captures, and d6. We have f4, knight to d7, and knight to f3 now. f5, and now castling seems like an automatic here, but it seems that Svidler is very well prepared and he plays e4, which is the strongest move recommended by the engine. So he is still in home preparation. But as usual, you are always welcome to check out the interview after this game. There will be a link in the description below. You know everything. So f captures on e4, bishop captures on e4, and now knight to f6, attacking the bishop, bishop back to c2, and now again it seems like black can freely castle here, which he can, but bishop to d7. Aronian has a different plan. We have castles, c captures on d4, and now what do? You could undouble your pawns. C captures on d4 definitely, you know, seems like something you should do, but if you do this, then black can immediately exchange queens, and what did you really achieve as white in the opening? Nothing much, and you know, you are in the lower half of the standings. and it's already round 11, you don't want to waste a game with the white pieces like this. So after c captures on d4, queen captures on d4, Svidler is kind of not allowing Aronian to castle, as he does have to deal with the threat of queen captures on d6. But Aronian says, no, not really, and he castles anyway. So queen captures on d6, queen captures on c3 now. A d6 pawn seems much juicier than the doubled c pawn. But okay, bishop to d3. Now attacking, defending the c4 pawn, rook to d8, and rook to c1 now, with an attack on the queen. Queen to a5, we have knight to e5, and bishop to c8, opening up a discovered attack from the rook to the queen, and queen to b4. And this is the critical moment of the game. What do you do here? Svidler offers a trade of queens. Of course, he wants Aronian to accept this. After he accepts, then a captures on b4, he fixes his pawn structure, but the problem is, after something like knight to d7, as this is, this knight is too active, you do have to do something about this. Knight here, preparing to capture and remove the defender of the bishop on d3, so bishop to e4. You don't want to, any funny business here. So after knight captures, pawn captures, rook captures, king captures, you've exchanged a lot of pieces here, the problem is white will be better here, because you do have this completely undeveloped bishop on c8, and it's very hard to develop this bishop. Let's say rook to d4, attack the bishop here, still bishop to f3, and now there's really no way to develop the bishop here. The b7 pawn is under attack. And if you play something like this, you have to waste a lot of time. Then king comes into the play after you try something like bishop to a6, then you simply kick the bishop back. Bishop has to retreat all the way to c8, then you move further, you attack the rook, king e3, after rook goes back, then bishop to c6. You gain so much space, and black always has to be careful. Rook to a1 is coming, and if you try to defend this with rook to f8 to f7, then white can infiltrate using the d file. It's a very hard position for black to play. Probably white will win this. So after queen to b4, Aronian plays queen to c7. And if you will be interested in an interview after the game, Aronian played queen to c7, and he specifically planned his next move, which is a real chaotic move. We have c5, and now comes g5. So this is the move you will not see very often, especially not in a very strong tournament like this. You might see it in a bullet or a hyper bullet game, but in a candidates tournament, the engine really, it's not like the engine doesn't like this move, it's just, it's nowhere in the recommended ideas. But over the board, it's something Aronian will always play, and you have to be ready for this. So how do you counter this? The engine will counter it with g3, but over the board, the clock is ticking. You have to make something happen. Who's really going to play g3? So Svidler goes for the active idea. He plays c6. C6 is kind of a blunder, because knight to d5 can stabilize everything for black. Now the queen on b4 is under attack. You have to do something here. After pawn captures on b7, queen captures, bishop captures, f captures on g5, but now knight to f4, and the knight is now attacking the bishop on d3. The bishop is attacked twice. The knight and the bishop are both attacking the g2 pawn, so white will be up a pawn, but only temporarily. Black equalized this. So c6, not the most precise idea, but countering an imprecise idea with another imprecise idea, always a good idea. b5, a move that again doesn't really help Aronian's plan. You could capture the pawn, that's true. Queen captures, bishop captures is an idea. But Svidler isn't interested in the pawn. He plays queen to e1. g5 weakens the king, and now it's time to bring all of the forces over to the king side. Queen to g3 will be an idea. Rook to d5, and now comes queen to g3. h6, but h6 doesn't really help black all that much. F captures on g5, we have queen captures on e5, queen captures on e5, rook captures, and now pawn captures on f6. King to f7, we have rook to f4, rook to d8, attacking the bishop on d3, bishop to e4, so rook to f4, a very nice move. rook to f4 was preparing bishop to f4, and from e4 bishop to e4, and from e4 the bishop will very nicely limit the movement of this rook on e5 and also defend the pawn on c6. So rook to d8, now bishop to e4 as planned, and rook to d2. A very active move for black, but not active enough as you'll see in the game. h4. We have a5, rook to c3, rook to e2, and now comes a wonderful move by Svidler. Feel free to pause the video and find the move here. I mean, there are more moves you can play, but this one is it really shows black who's boss. So for those of you who found it, congratulations, you have just beaten Levon Aronian, and for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, bishop to g6 with check is an idea, which was played in the game. Now, of course, if king captures, then f7, there is no stopping the pawn from queening. So after bishop to g6 check, king to f8 was played. Now comes rook to d4. Already Svidler is threatening rook to d8 checkmate. We have rook to d5. Rook captures, pawn captures, and now rook to c5, attacking both the b5 pawn and the d5 pawn. We have rook e1 check, king h2, and now rook to f1, attacking the f6 pawn. f7 now, we have b4, captures, and now rook captures on d5. So white is up 2 pawns, and there's really not all that much black can do here. We have king to g7, and now, once again, you're free to pause the video here and find the winning idea. How do you win this game? So there is one move you can make, which ends the game immediately. Svidler made that, and after that move, Aronian resigned the game. So feel free to pause it, find the move. Yeah, I mean, you can win this position a lot of times, but it's always best to finish the game in the strongest way possible. So, for those of you who found it, congratulations, you are once again an excellent endgame player. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, rook to d8 was played, and in this position, Levon Aronian resigned the game. Why did he resign? Well, of course, you cannot capture the bishop. If you play king captures, then you get f8 queen, and then simply the rook will be stronger than bishop. Bishop to e6, let's say, rook attacks pawn b3, now comes c7, you do have another pass pawn, and whatever black plays, you will simply capture it. If bishop captures, then you bring a queen into the game, so nothing really to do here. And on the other hand, after rook to d8, even if you don't capture, let's say you try b3, then comes rook to g8 check, even worse. After king f6, now you bring another queen into the game, and after king to e6, you can choose whatever you want. You can capture bishop, you can capture the rook, you can checkmate the black king if you like, whichever you prefer. I always prefer to go for checkmate, but some people will try to humiliate your opponent if your opponent doesn't want to resign. So maybe you want to gobble up all of his pieces and only then win the game. Either way, after rook to d8, Aronian resigned the game. So yeah, a great game and a great story behind the game. It's a shame for Levon Aronian. He was in second place. Now he took a pretty hard blow, but an excellent shot for Peter Svidler to take his shot at the first place in this tournament. So yeah, once again, I do hope you enjoyed it. Pretty sure Aronian did not, but it's chess, and yeah, that's it. Thank you all for watching. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching once again, and I will see you soon with one more game from round 11 of the 2013 Candidates Tournament, and then we're gonna check out the standings and talk about the tournament some more. So yeah, see you soon.